July 2013.
For weeks. Christians were spat on, cursed, and threatened. I want to play a soundbite from Austin, Texas, of Christians singing Amazing Grace. In the background, you will hear the jeers and taunts of the Abominista baby killers. The Aboministas were shouting, "Hail Satan!" Here's a taste of what it sounded like in Austin. One person who was in Austin for weeks on behalf of unborn babies is Texas resident Chelsea Barlow. I first met Chelsea and her husband Bob at least 15 years ago when this radio program had just started in Dallas, Fort Worth. And Chelsea is on the telephone right now to give us an eyewitness account of the venomous and raw anti-Christ behavior of the Aboministas in Austin, Texas. Chelsea? Are you there?
I am here.
Hi, Chelsea. I'm doing great. It's good to hear from you. I've not heard your voice for 15 years. Couples that saw or heard very little about it. What they did here was a totally twisted, distorted account of what the Texas legislature did to slow down, to stop some of the abortions. They banned abortions beyond the 20th week of pregnancy. And the mainstream news media portrayed Texas as some backward hick place that was, waging a war against women. And the news coverage was just totally distorted and twisted. And they made the state senator there, what was her name, Wendy Davis, they made her into a hero, And, I see her name in European newspapers as she's some type of hero now. But you were there, and you stayed for how long? How long were you in Austin?
I didn't stay the entire time because I do have a big family to take care of. However, I was there 7 of those nights on the special session where this finally did pass. So I was there during the peak events, and really did see. I was right next to just outside the window where the women they were singing the Hail Satan. I was right there. I saw what was going on down in the rotunda in the courtyard.
That was really that was a spiritual war. I've never seen anything so raw between Satanists and Christians.
It wasn't, they may not have even been Satanists. They were just that mad at Christians. They were just that mad that we had...
What would you call them then?
Belief. I don't even have a clue. Honestly, I give her hand gestures and say, "Get out of my blank, Gramps," and that's how they felt about him. That he was doing that to them. So the signs were horrible, just horrible. Women would use their children to say awful things. And it's not just the Christians, but the pro-lifers, whether Christian or maybe another faith that just did want to protect the unborn and to protect the women to make sure that the facilities that were used were up to FDA regulations. These people were, for the most part, silent. Often we put life tape over our mouths. I don't know if you've seen that in the media. We had a red piece of tape, and it written on it said life. And we put it over our mouths so that we would stand and represent those who could not speak. And so our goal was to not be there to debate or fight anything. We were just there to represent life. So I went to represent life and to take up space, especially in the gallery where the unruly mob did take over the first session and make the vote not count.
Were you there for that episode?
I wasn't there. I was in my bedroom watching it live stream, and I saw... and I'm not even one to do that normally, and for some reason I was drawn to it.
Yeah, for people who don't live in Texas and have no idea what we're talking about, they kind of paint a word picture for us what they did that day.
What they did that night in the gallery, I just saw what happened in the Senate. One of the senators, one of the female senators who is pro-abortion, made a comment, well, what does it take for a woman to be recognized from a man around here? I'm not quoting her exactly, but that was the comment. And it got the pro-abortionists so riled up in the gallery that they cheered and cheered and cheered so loudly they could not take roll and take the vote. And so the vote occurred and was finalized after midnight of the session when the session closed.
So that was the very last night and the last hours of the Texas session. And so the aboministas, and that's what I'm calling them, the aboministas, this is a communist revolution. They use communist tactics, and they just created such a scene inside the Texas State House that the legislators couldn't even cast a vote. And then the clock ran out at midnight, and the legislature was out of session constitutionally.
Yeah. So what Rick Perry did, our governor, was he allowed another special session so it could be heard again, and it cost us at least $1 million, our tax dollars. So, you know, that unruly mob not only did not allow our representative government, because they still think it's a democracy when it's a republic, that, you know, they're trying to overpower our government with their voices. But what they don't understand is that our voices are heard through our representatives. And their representatives weren't elected. There weren't enough people representing for abortion to get in the legislature. So,
among the baby killer protesters who were there, did you have any idea how many of them were real Texans and how many were out-of-staters?
I couldn't tell. They all look the same.
I'm just wondering if they were busing them in from other states.
Well, there was busing in from other states. I couldn't tell you who was who. I can tell you that I saw it myself. There was an ad in Craigslist by Planned Parenthood offering to pay protesters. They were paying protesters with our tax dollars as well.
Planned Parenthood, which gets millions of dollars from the taxpayers to kill babies, was hiring professional protesters.
Professional protesters. One of my friends, I didn't hear correctly, one of my friends said she overheard somebody say, I need to get my 2 hours in. I don't know what that means, but it seems to go very well with that.
Gotta get my 2 hours in. Gotta go down and paid to show up and disrupt and cause a scene.
I'm not real sure if that's how it works, but that's how it came across with that comment.
Jesse, did you or other pro-life advocates, did at any time did you feel physically threatened?
Yeah, I did. My son Micah, I brought him. He's a budding young man that needs to understand politics and be it in an experiential way. I brought him the final night. And we stood in line for 9 hours, listened to the roar and the rotunda the whole time. While we're standing in line for 9 hours, we're getting reports of things DPS is confiscating as protesters are going into the gallery. I've never been searched so thoroughly in my life. And that is wonderful. I completely was happy about that because we were hearing reports of them confiscating used tampons and nesting pads, feces, 18 foot, and urine.
This was confiscated by Texas police officers who were the doorway of the State House.
Gallery. Of the gallery where the Senate was meeting.
18 bricks, human feces, and used feminine pads. Are you serious? Or this is what they were going to throw?
They were going to throw that. Now, we went in there. Once we got in near the end of the evening, I kept seeing watching my Facebook feed because that was my source of information DPS had encouraged all the pro-lifers to go downstairs into the congressman rooms for protection, and they left the doors. They had the Capitol on lockdown. We were told to leave the Capitol, or encouraged to leave the Capitol because of the mob, and then we were told to stay in the gallery. However, my son wanted to leave. He felt threatened, and he wasn't aware of what I was reading. He felt threatened by the noise, but we had been aware of all day, but it had escalated come the late hours of the evening. So we actually stepped out just before they started to vote. And we got away safely, and we also had a friend say that there was a man walking around with I think it's called an AR-15. I'm not sure if it was a real one. I got some pictures of it, and some gun friends of mine said, oh, that's supposed to keep her good kind of thing. But he was walking around a little bit and dangling a tampon in the other hand. And I definitely believe in your right to carry. I do. He was threatening with it. He did not, there was no shots fired, or we'd be hearing about that for sure, but, and I hadn't heard one, but he was walking around with a gun and a tampon, and him intimidating people with it.
Chelsea, did you ever imagine you'd see this kind of behavior in the United States of America and in Texas?
No, I didn't.
And you're there to stop the killing of babies.
I didn't understand why they were so committed to their uterus, but not another human life.
It's satanic.
It really was. It was overwhelmingly spiritual. Overwhelmingly spiritual. And I'm not going to I wasn't trying to look for a demon under every bush type thing. It just was overwhelming. You couldn't get away from it.
Well, these demons weren't hiding behind bushes. They were out on the streets.
They weren't. It was obvious.
They were in the streets possessing the people who were demanding the right to murder babies.
It was such a roar. Such a roar from them. So yes, I did feel threatened. I did go on with my full armor of God. The praise and worship, when we did have it in the midst, was precious, and at times they would just come along or chant over us where we couldn't hear anymore. I had this one memory of a young woman came right on the middle star in the rotunda, on the star. It said Republic of Texas, by the way, in the state capital, which was awesome. She was sitting on that star in the rotunda with her Bible in her lap. She was completely surrounded by orange shirts who were shouting over her like vulgar signs, and they were shouting over, circling her. This was this one woman.
She was reading her Bible, and the Obamanistas surrounded her.
Yes.
And they were shouting at her and taunting.
Yes. And she was sitting there peacefully.
But they were offended by a Christian reading her Bible.
Yes.
I hope this is sinking into our audience of the severity of this satanic attack that the church is under right now. Make no mistake about what is happening. This is raw satanic sewage coming up out of hell.
That's a good description.
The sewer pipes of hell have broken open. And this is raw hate against Jesus Christ, against God, against the Bible, against righteous men and women, against life, against anything that's good and decent. This is the face of the Obamanista revolution. And this is only the beginning. This is only the beginning of what these people have planned.
That was news coming in July 17, 2013, today from Austin, Texas, the state capital of Texas. I've recorded this as a warning because what they're saying is absolutely correct. I faced the mob. I've been up against these pro-death mobs. They are very bold, and they are completely fearless against God, and they do wish harm on those that believe in God and try and do His will. So these are warnings. Is your pastor talking about it? Today, July 17th, 2013, news from Kiskiplanter, Kiskiplanter, currently Southwest Pennsylvania, United States of America.